Hi, everybody. It's Mrs. Kowalski here to read another story to you. And before I read that story, I want to talk a little bit about something called a turning point in a story. I've been in a couple of classrooms and I've seen like that little bit of a triangle that's leading up all the action in the story. And then it gets to a certain point, and then the story takes a little bit of a turn, right? And at that point, it's where the highest tension takes place or the events kind of change in the story. And basically, it's the most exciting part. It's where like a revelation happens, or it's, it's where the rising action kind of hits and then the falling action kind of starts, right? So while I read this story, I want you to think of that visual, right? And I want you to think of that specific point in the story where the turning point occurs. Okay? So the story is called Boys Don't Fry. Okay? A little bit on the back. It says, My mom winked at him. Don't worry, Jin. Cook from your heart, not your head. So Boys Don't Fry. And it's written by Kimberly Lee and it's illustrated by Charlene Chua. And basically, it is a story with an Asian background. So it's an ode, or basically like written to celebrate. And the author, I'm just reading you from the author's note here. They even have like a cool recipe in the back. Um, And so it's what the author says is this is a loving ode or an honor to my Peranakan Chinese heritage, the glorious food, the family, and she says that I've grown up with the desire in every child's heart to feel seen and valued and included, which I think is what our main character Chin is going to feel. The term Peranakan, which means locally born, and the cool part about this is that that term is actually a distinction of a mixed culture. Some Malaysian, a little bit of Singapore heritage, and some Indonesian. So that's what I think is kind of cool about this because it's a little bit of a mixture of many different cultures. So it also says that Parankan males are known as Baba and females are known as Nyona. So the blend of these two distinct cultures has influenced many, many facets or many parts of Parakan life. And nowhere is more evident than cuisine or food. So we are going to read this story, Boys Don't Fry. Now the cool part too is in the back. Not only do they have a recipe, but they have a lot of the different ingredients there. So, well, I'll show you that when we finish the story. So remember, rising action and the turning point, where the story turns. Boys don't fry. Jin sniffed. He could smell the spices in the air and he couldn't decide whether to sneeze or smile. He took another whiff. Ooh, was that lemongrass? And macaroot lime leaves too. Their bright, sharp scent made his taste buds tingle. His grandmother, Mama, was cooking up a storm. Dinner was going to be good. So see, the smell kind of wafting out, and there's Jen. And Jen is, it seems like he has like a great sense of smell, right? And I don't know, when you're in your house, right, and somebody starts to cook something, kind of wakes up your whole self. Jen's aunties flew in and out of the kitchen like bees. Bzz, bzz, bzz. Their buzzing never stopped as they picked out the best herbs for their queen. Jen's tummy rumbled as loudly as the kitchen. Mama always said that the kitchen was the stomach of the house. That's a very interesting, that's a very interesting little thought there. So Mama always said that the kitchen was the stomach of the house. and the heart. So there they are. There we go. That was Mama, of course. And there she is, cooking away. Both the heart and the stomach were working hard today on the eve of Lunar New Year. Jin's relatives would be coming over for their big family reunion dinner that night, and he couldn't wait. Chua, Jin's eldest auntie, turned excitedly to Jin's sisters. Mama's cooking chicken pongte for tonight. Do you want to help us make it? His sisters shook their heads no, and they went off quickly, leaving a telltale trail of pineapple tart crumbs behind them. So here's all the family, and here's the auntie asking the youngest girls, do they want to help? And look, there they are eating that pineapple tart, leaving all the crumbs behind. Look at Jin's face behind, right? See him? He's kind of like, what's going on in there? Jin wished Chua had asked him to help too, but Babas never got asked him. Remember what we said. Babas means boys, right? Babas never got asked, only Nyonyas. Jin never understood why. Nobody else had a better nose than he did, or could tell the difference between ginger and galanga as well as he could. And no one loved food more. Look at Jin. That's definitely an I wonder face if I ever saw one. Every clang and chop from the kitchen made him inch closer and closer and closer to the action. Squaring his shoulders, Jin cleared his throat loudly. I can help, he offered boldly. That had to take a lot of courage. A lot of courage. Look at that auntie's face. I wonder what they're going to say. Aye, Jin, you just get bored, Chua replied with a cheerful pinch of his cheek. Jin's second auntie nodded wearily. You'll only get in the way. And we have so much to do already, tutted his third auntie as she whizzed past. You'll mess everything up. The kitchen is not a playground, Jin. So there's all the aunties, and they're trying to give him like, no. Bzz, bzz, bzz. So there they are going around like bees. Jin's head started to hurt. Suddenly, Jin heard the loud thump of Mama's cane walking against the floor. I don't see anything wrong with Jin learning if he wants to. His auntie's face fell silent. Their queen had spoken. Mama looked at Jin and beckoned him over. That means, let's see what you can do, she said, tucking him under her arm. So there it is. Boom, 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 right? There she is walking. And look at Jin's face. And look at all the aunties. Ooh. Mama has spoken. As Mama led him into the kitchen, Jin felt like he was entering another world. Nothing he had ever seen before was as red as Mama's sambal belacan. Nothing smelled as lovely as her stews. The sizzle of her stuffed fried fish, it sounded like music. That has to be somebody who absolutely loves food, ingredients, and cooking. Look at all of that. He watched as the fire danced in the same way his insides were leaping. The pot on the stove bubbling sounded like a laugh. That's somebody who has a love in their heart for what they're interested in. Slowly, Jin picked up Mama's pestle. It fit into his hand perfectly. Mama looked at him and smiled as if she could read his mind. Let's get to work, she said. And so Jin and his grandmother pounded. They pressed. They squeezed. They sliced. So this up here, right here, that's the pesto. Look at how much fun they're having. They look like they really love what they're doing. They teared up when the onions were cut and when the chili was too spicy and when Jin made a joke so funny, they cried. Okay, let's show them again. That's pure joy, right? Pure joy. Mama shared her secrets like how her famous Lasca recipe was actually passed down to her by her father. Jim listened as he perched on the stool across from Mama, watching her nimble fingers peeling and prepping each colorful ingredient with care. He loved hearing everything that Mama had to say. So some serious business going on in the kitchen. When the time came for them to add the salted plums to the Itek Tim soup, Jin tried to follow Mama exactly. He didn't want to get anything wrong, especially not in front of his watchful aunties. He was so nervous, he almost dropped a spoon into the soup when Chua E peeked over his shoulder. Look at, I want to show you Auntie peeking and Jin's face. That would make me nervous too. Mama winked at him. Don't worry, Jin. Cook from your heart, not your head. Jin took a deep breath and began to relax, moving with all the magic he felt around him. That's one of my favorite pictures in the whole book, right? That one and the laughing picture. Mama leaned over to sample his soup and gave a sigh. Perfect. Once they had finished, Jin and Mama surveyed the spread laid out before them. From rich veg curries to perfectly plated pie teas and rainbow-colored, I think it said, kua, sharing a smile as they did so. Perfect indeed. Look at that spread. Woof. Wonderful. That night, as the family sat down for dinner, everyone agreed that it was the best meal they'd ever had. Mama told them it was because they had a very special ingredient this year. The bees buzzed around in loud agreement. Remember, he called his aunties the bees? So the bees were agreeing. Of course, La. I always knew Jin had a gift in the kitchen. That boy was meant to cook. Never doubted him for a second. So these are the three aunties, right? And that's what they're saying now. Is that what they were saying before? And here is a picture of them sharing the meal. Next Lunar New Year, the kitchen still hummed with busy bees and sizzling stovetops. And right beside the queen was the happy heir to her kingdom, filling each delicious dish with sweetness, spice, and that very special ingredient. What do you think that special ingredient was? Remember she said, cook with your hands, but your... So, I'm just going to say the special ingredient was Jin's, right? Okay. So, we already read the author's note, and we're going to look here at the recipe, right? And that's for a special chicken recipe, right? So, if you're interested in that recipe, I can absolutely get it to you. I'll take a screenshot and share it. But on the back, they share all kinds of different cooking ingredients, right? There's the chili, the garlic, the lime leaves, the onion, the macaroot lime, the salted plums, galangal, belacan, which is shrimp paste, ginger, candlenut, dried shrimp, tamarind, lemongrass. So many ingredients, right? Here's the end. I'm just going to leave you with a little picture of my absolute most favorite picture in this story, right? And just a little picture again of the cover. And again, I want you to take a moment to talk about maybe as a group or with a partner, or if you're going to do it on Seesaw, right? Talk about the part of the story where it got to a point where it was so tense and then everything changed. So share that. Share it, talk about it, maybe write about it. Thanks for listening.